Decoded.
Ever wonder if the answers to feeling better, maybe having more energy, or, tackling those stubborn health things might actually be simpler than we think?
Yeah, or those common issues, especially for men, like that fatigue you just can't shake.
Exactly. Or maybe weird heart flutters, feeling constantly kinda on edge. Well, welcome to Book Decoded. This is our deep dive where we grab a book that you've shared with us and really unlock its best insights.
And today, we're diving into Total Body Reset for Men by Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Right. This book tackles those big men's health areas, heart, prostate, mental clarity, energy, even longevity.
But it looks at them through, let's say, a different lens. It blends scientific info with personal stories, making a case for natural strategies that target these really fundamental issues.
So our mission today is simple. Unpack the core ideas, point out the surprising connections the book makes, and basically help you get the important stuff quickly and, thoroughly.
Okay, sounds good. Where should we start?
Let's get into the foundations. The book really hammers home this idea of nutrient deficiencies, right? Especially minerals, with a big focus on magnesium.
Absolutely. That's a core premise that a lot of modern health problems, including those specific men's issues, often trace back to not having enough of these basic building blocks, minerals, especially magnesium.
Okay, but hold on. We eat food, presumably with nutrients. Why is mineral depletion such a big focus now, according to Dr. Dean?
Well, the book lays out a few key reasons. First off, the soil itself. It argues our soil is just depleted.
Depleted? How so?
It even mentions a 1936 U.S. Senate document pointing out that soils were already mineral deficient way back then.
1936. Wow.
Yeah. And modern farming, certain fertilizers, especially high potassium ones, they can apparently make it harder for plants to even take up magnesium and calcium. So that apple might look healthy, but it might not have the mineral punch it did generations ago.
That's sobering. That 1936 detail really sticks with you. It's not just what you eat, but the actual nutrient density.
Exactly. Then layer on modern life.
Yeah.
Intense exercise, great for you, but you lose a lot of minerals through sweat.
Right. Athletes are often very aware of that.
The book discusses how not replacing those can lead to some serious issues. And then, the big one, stress.
Stress. The nonstop pace, right? How does that connect?
The book is really clear here. Stress, physical, mental, emotional, it just torches magnesium.
Torches it.
Yeah, your stress hormones and adrenaline, cortisol, they cause your body to use up magnesium rapidly and also excrete more of it.
Yeah.
So the more stress you're under,
the faster you burn through it, creating this ongoing deficit.
Okay, so I see.
And magnesium, according to the book, is way more than just one mineral. It calls it foundational. Like, it's central to chlorophyll in plants, similar to iron in our blood.
Exactly like that. And get this, it's needed for hundreds, the book even says potentially up to 1,000 different enzyme systems in the body.
1,000? That's huge. What kind of things?
Oh, everything. Energy production, muscle function, nerve signals, making proteins. I mean, pretty much the works. And this detail really jumped out at me. Metabolizing sugar, especially fructose. It burns magnesium like crazy. The book states it takes something like 56 atoms of magnesium to process just one molecule of fructose. Compare that to glucose, which only needs one.
56 atoms for one fructose molecule? That's wild. Okay, that really paints a picture of why high sugar diets are such a drain.
Totally. So if you're stressed and consuming a lot of sugar or high fructose corn syrup, you're basically running on empty, magnesium-wise.
And this deficiency can show up in ways you might not expect.
Right. Things often mistaken for other conditions. Muscle cramps, that persistent fatigue, trouble sleeping, feeling anxious.
Even heart palpitations. Those scary, irregular beats.
Yes. The book suggests those can sometimes be nervous system or muscle function issues tied directly to low magnesium. It actually includes stories, testimonials from people who found significant relief just by addressing their mineral levels.
And a practical tip the book offers is just sipping sea-salted water during the day to help with hydration and getting minerals into cells.
Simple, but potentially effective. Now, there's another major underlying factor the book really zooms in on, something often missed in conventional approaches. Yeast overgrowth, specifically Candida albicans.
Yeast overgrowth. The book presents this as a really significant driver of chronic illness.
Yeah, surprisingly significant. It suggests it could be a factor in maybe up to 50% of chronic cases, often hand in hand with that mineral deficiency we just talked about.
50%. That seems high. Why does the book argue it's so widespread and often overlooked?
It points to really common modern things. Antibiotic use is a big one. Wipes out good gut bacteria, lets the yeast take over.
Right.
High sugar and refined carb diets literally feed the yeast. And alcohol, especially beer, is mentioned as another trigger.
So, thinking back, maybe childhood antibiotics for ear infections, then years of sugary cereals or sodas that could set the stage.
That's exactly the idea behind what the book calls the downward spiral. Early treatments like antibiotics or cortisone creams disrupt the body's balance, potentially leading down the road to yeast overgrowth, maybe leaky gut, allergies, which can then become chronic issues later in life.
And the symptoms linked to yeast in the book are really broad, aren't they?
Incredibly broad. From the obvious digestive stuff, IBS, bloating, gas, to things like fatigue, brain fog, irritability, memory problems, even issues related to urinary function or sexual health.
Wow. It really paints a picture of systemic disruption. What does the book suggest doing about it?
It mentions strategies like using soil-based probiotics to help restore gut balance, and also pecometer silver, which it describes as an antimicrobial.
Okay, so we've got these two big underlying themes, mineral depletion and yeast overgrowth. How does the book connect tackling these back to the specific men's health concerns it started with, like heart health?
It basically reframes those concerns. So heart health, like we touched on, symptoms like palpitations or even AFib might actually be signs of magnesium deficiency. The book includes some really compelling stories. There's Kevin Greisel, an athlete whose severe AFib dramatically improved when he started replacing the minerals he was sweating out.
That's powerful.
And Roman Hines, who talks about overcoming anxiety, panic attacks, and arrhythmias he'd had since his teens, all by addressing these kinds of underlying deficiencies.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many people might be treating symptoms without getting to the root?
Absolutely. What about the prostate?
The book links BPH, benign prostatic hyperplasia, to potential zinc deficiency. But then it goes somewhere else, quite different for prostate cancer. It brings in this idea from total biology called the conflict of the grandfather.
The conflict of the grandfather. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds intriguing. What kind of perspective is that?
Well, total biology is this field that explores how significant emotional conflicts might impact our biology. The book presents the idea and stresses this, is that field's perspective, definitely outside the mainstream, that prostate issues, specifically cancer in this context, could be a biological response to a deep, maybe even unconscious conflict related to carrying on the family line or protecting one's descendants, the grandchildren.
That's certainly a unique angle offered in the book, a sort of psychological or even ancestral layer to illness. What about mental health?
That's tied very strongly to magnesium in the book. Magnesium helps regulate our stress response system, the HPA axis, and it's essential for making serotonin, the mood neurotransmitter.
So low magnesium means a dysregulated stress system, contributing to anxiety, depression.
Directly, yes. And the book suggests men might show these symptoms differently.
How so?
Maybe less classic sadness, more irritability, anger, or perhaps self-medicating behaviors, excessive drinking, drug use, even extreme sports as a kind of escape. Yeah, and again, testimonials like Jason Smith's talking about overcoming addiction and mental health issues, or Roman Hines finding relief from panic attacks. They illustrate the book's point that addressing these nutritional fundamentals as part of a bigger picture can be really transformative for mental well-being.
Okay. And finally, longevity and performance. How does the book tie it all together there?
It really emphasizes an integrated approach, diet, exercise, mindset, and targeted supplementation.
Right.
It gives examples of athletes in the book like Fredo or Ben Pelton who use specific mineral and electrolyte supplements to boost energy, speed up recovery, and just maintain performance during really intense stuff like a 100-mile bike ride.
Makes sense.
It also really highlights how important supplementation can be if you're on certain diets, like keto or doing intermittent fasting. Those can lead to rapid electrolyte loss, the whole keto flu thing.
Yes.
There's a story from James Gunther about his major weight loss using fasting and how crucial that nutrient support was for him.
So the book wraps this up into a kind of basic plan.
Yeah, basically. Avoid sugar and toxins, try some form of fasting, and use broad-spectrum nutrient support. Those are presented as foundational steps.
You know, hearing those personal stories mentioned in the book, the athlete getting over AFib, someone escaping decades of anxiety, the weight loss journey, even small things like a bruise healing fast with topical magnesium.
Right, they make the concepts much more real. They're anecdotes, of course, not clinical trials, but the book uses them to show the potential impact of focusing on these basics.
It definitely encourages you to look past just the surface symptoms, doesn't it? To think about these interconnected systems, minerals, gut health, stress, how they all influence each other.
Exactly. What's really insightful is how the book weaves these different threads together, arguing they're fundamental for optimizing health, especially for men facing common modern challenges. It's about empowering yourself, understanding these basics to make more informed choices about your own health, especially when navigating all the health info out there.
So, thinking about everything we've unpacked from Total Body Reset for Men and considering, modern life, depleted soil, constant stress, maybe past antibiotic use, sugar in everything, how might those sort of silent factors be affecting your own energy, your mood, your physical resilience day to day?
And maybe what simple foundational steps, like just making sure you're getting enough essential minerals, might be worth exploring just to see what difference it could make for you.
Definitely some food for thought there. That wraps up this book decoded deep dive. We really hope these insights from Total Body Reset for Men offer some fresh perspectives for your own health journey.